So we'll do that, and then I'll say a few words for the shloshim, and then we'll keep you to it. Okay, so Moed finishes with Masechta Chagiga, and the last Mishnah talks about what we do with the kalim in the Beis Hamikdash after the regalim. After the Yom Tovim, there were so many people that came in there that they were worried that people that had tumah, had impurity, that touched the kalim, the vessels in the Beis Hamikdash. So the Mishnah talks about what would they do to purify those vessels. So the Mishnah says, Ketzav Mavir and Altaras Azara. How would they purify the Azara, the courtyard? They would bring out the kalim and they would immerse them in the mikvah in order to purify them. And they would say, Hizaru shlotigu b'shulchan. They would say throughout the regel, don't touch, be careful not to touch the shulchan in the Beis Hamikdash because the shulchan can't be moved. That was the halacha, the shulchan can't be moved, so if it became tamei, that had a big problem. They would not be able to move that, immerse that in the mikvah. But the other kalim, they would be able to. And the Mishnah says, Kol ha-kalim shay b'mikdash yesh l'hem shneim v'shlishiyim. All of the vessels in the mikdash, they had replacements, secondary replacements, and they even had a third set. Why? Shem nitnu harishonim, that if the first set became tamei, like we talked about on the regalim, yaviu shneim tachteim, then in the meantime, while they were being immersed, they would bring the replacements. Last part of the Mishnah says, Kol ha-kalim shay b'mikdash tu'unin tefillah. All of the kalim required tefillah, chutz mi-mizbeach hazav, mi-mizbeach hanechoshes, besides the golden altar and the copper altar, because they're considered like ground, and ground can't become impure, so those can't become pure either. Divra Eliezer, that's where Eliezer holds. The Chachamim argue and say, no, they can become impure because they're covered with gold, or they're covered, and because they're covered with the metal, so then they can become impure, and therefore they have to be immersed as well. Okay, I'll say the Hadron over here, and then after the Hadron, I'll say a quick Kaddish, and then we'll go from there. Sorry, a little uncomfortable here. All right, Hadron, let's say the Moed, Hadron Chalon, Daidan, Allah say the Moed, Daidan Chalon, Lis Nashim Minach, say the Moed, V'Lenasis. So the first thing that I wanted to say was, on behalf of our family, thank you to Rabbi Brander, thank you to the community for all the love and support that you've shown us over the last 30 days. It's been very meaningful, and it's gotten us through these hard days. It's no other way to say it. As simple as that. So I only have 3 cards here, so it's not going to be long. Anybody who's mourned before, Rahman al-Islam, knows that it's kind of like, in order to process it, you have to do some rummaging around the house a little bit. So I was sitting at my father's desk last night, just looking through his stuff and sort of, looking through his pencils, everything's in order. I don't know if anybody's ever had that experience before. I guess it's part of the process. Everything was in place, ready for him to tackle another day, another week. It wasn't meant to be. I opened up his computer, and you see all the way back from 2011, the list of Elias, the new document each week saved in his document folder. It's ready for the next week. You see it's hard. My father was the master of consistency. He always taught us, and he always practiced consistency. To be reliable, to be responsible, to be consistent with our commitments. think I mentioned that when my father retired in 2011, he asked me, is it okay if I retire? You know, even though he was I think he was 69 years old at the time. He was ready to retire. He said, you know, I have a responsibility to you and the rest of the family. I just want to ask you permission to retire. You know, that sort of shows, you know, his thought process. I was rummaging in the desk last night, and I saw his when he retired, he had it said he had 456 PTO hours. So just to show the consistency, I'm sure he had to forfeit those over the years. He didn't take any. I can count on my finger how many times he took vacation. You know, that's 57 days, but that probably was only a couple of years worth. You know, it's almost 7.5 years ago, I decided that by the time I turned 40, I'll come back to that. I was going to say that I was going to. Sorry. Take your time. 3 weeks ago, until I finished shots, I wanted my father to be there. He believes in the goodness of each person. You know, even if people struggled, he has a nephew. Elliot Gershman is one of his nephews, but I'm not talking about you. He has a nephew that has struggled over the years and separated from the family. I don't know the story, but my father was consistently in touch with him. I was on the computer last night and I saw a message within the last month or so. You know, it's been 50 years, you know, since that's all happened. And he believes in the goodness of every person, and he continued keeping in touch with every person. He has a very large collection of Yahrzeit candles, to the extent that we don't know what we're going to do with all of those candles. We have a problem. So, because he would light a candle for every one of his relatives possible. It was unbelievable. In his files, I saw that he wrote to the International Tracing Service and, you know, tried to find out the Yahrzeit of all of his relatives, you know, from the war, and he would be very serious about that, and he would light a candle for each and every one of them. When I was in school, when I was in yeshiva, once in a while, my rebbeim would speak to my father. Sometimes they would speak to you, but most of the time, they would speak to my father, and then just on a consistent basis, just to keep in touch. Nothing wrong usually, but they would afterwards. They would take me aside and they would say, you know, your father has character traits that you have to learn from. You know, you get your character traits from him, and my mother, of course. But they would make sure to let me know. No, I'm almost done here. Don't worry. One more thing. Two more things. he had a special method of accomplishing things. He would accomplish things piecemeal. Like he would do things little by little. Like when he would shovel the snow, he would go out like 5 times in one day. You know, like he would shovel a part and then he would come back in. It was his way of being able to tackle large tasks and make sure that he could get them done, but in a manageable way. Sort of like a work ethic that he taught us, you know. And I take that and you can learn that way and you can do all of your things that way in life and accomplish. Just to close, you know, I feel like if he was given another day, he would say to me, you know, how can I help you? What can I do? Shamash Heavenly. Thank you.
Right.